You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a successful motivational speaker and trusted life coach, Nancy knows how you can live the life you want regardless of the challenges you face. Although she's legally blind, Nancy's mission is to inspire others to overcome obstacles and live life full out. Call in at 800-333-0001 to ask Nancy for advice on topics such as relationships, finances, business, health, and more. Just call 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Hello and welcome to the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and today we're going to be talking about betrayal. You know, unfortunately, we've all had those times where somebody has not treated us well, and maybe they stabbed us in the back, maybe they lied to us, maybe they misled us in the wrong direction. And how do you bounce back from that? How do you dig deep within your core to hold on to your values, to your beliefs, to have the stamina that you need to find the truth? Now, our inspirational guest coming up in our next segment, Rachel Stephensen, had to tread those waters herself by the passing of her mom. And I'm not going to give the story away, but she definitely shows how she went through the ring of fire of betrayal, but yet came out the other end with answers. And if you've been betrayed, we want to help you get those same answers so you can have freedom in your life, so you don't have to be living in the past or regrets. Also, we want to hear from you. If you have any questions and you want to get motivation, call us at 800-333-0001, and we are here to support you. In fact, we're getting word from our producer that we do have a caller on the line, so we'll say hello to them. Hi, welcome to the Living Full Out Show. Hi. Hi, thank you for calling. How can we help you?
Well, I have been struggling with managing my career and dealing with my child, my son, that has a addiction. I don't know which way to turn with that.
What is his addiction? What is it to?
He has a drug addiction. He's addicted to Xanax and meth. He has done that. He's been in rehab twice.
Mm-hmm. And how old is he?
He's been in a recovery home. He's 19.
He's 19. Okay. And what is your relationship with your son? Are you close, or because of the drugs and the addiction has that closeness kind of separated?
We've always been close. I'm a single parent, so I've raised him by myself, so I've always been very close to him. During his, through his addiction, we have had some separation of that nature. He has now moved to live with his grandmother because he says that's easier for him because he went through rehab and he's clean now. Mm-hmm. He's been clean for a bit over a year, but it just, the worry never goes away.
You know what? Honestly, I think you're great. I think you're such a special mom for caring so much about your son. The thing is you want that same love to just continue to be projected at him in a non-pressuring way. I think sometimes when we've done something wrong, we've failed, we've made a mistake, and obviously having an addiction and then relapsing not once but twice, he feels bad. And he sees probably other friends of his, advancing in their life and their careers and their relationships, and he's been not. And so I think you just want to hold the space for him of who he could be and who he wants to be, and let him know that that is possible, because it's very realistic that he could fall again. Right. And when we fall in life, all we really want to do is someone's going to be there to pick us up. They're not going to solve our problems, but we need something to hold on to. It's like when you have an addiction, or you go through a financial distress or anything, it's like you're falling down a well and you're just looking to grasp onto anything you can. And so as his mom, you just want to be that arm, that limb, that branch that he can count on. Doesn't mean you can solve it. He's got to do it himself. But I think if you just focus on being that constant in his life and that person that holds the space for him to be who he wants to be and never lets him forget his potential, I think that is the best role that you could give him. Do you see that?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I try to do, but some days it doesn't work so well.
Well, and it's not. And you know what? When he pushes back, that's not really your son pushing back. That's the man that's frustrated. That's the addict who wants his drugs. But fast forward 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the line, when I talk to people who've had addictions and I say who were the supporters in their lives, my mom, my dad, my best friend. And that is your role. You're not their rehab counselor. You're not, and some people have, parolees or whatever. You're not that person.
Right,
you are his mom. Okay. So just be that role. And it's going to be tempting. You're going to want to, say more and do more, but just be mom. Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
Sounds like great advice. Thank you.
You so much for calling in.
Thank you.
I'm glad she brought up that topic of addiction because, again, we could all be addicted to things. And sometimes when we have been betrayed by somebody, we're addicted to being angry, and we can't even figure out how to even forgive. Why would we forgive somebody who betrayed us, right? And sometimes we even feel like we betray ourselves. We let ourselves down. I'm going to go to our next caller. Hi, welcome to the Living Full Out Show. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How can we help you today?
I'm good, thank you. And I just had a quick question for you today.
Yes.
How can I save up money wisely to pay off my bills and necessities?
Well, what are you? So you have bills, and I hate to break it to you, you're always going to have bills, and they're probably going to go up.
Of course.
Okay, they're probably going to go up. But what you want to think about is what are the needed things that you have to pay for, right? Food, shelter, maybe certain supplies or things that you need to do your school or career, whatever that may be. But then outside of that,
yes,
you then need to look at how much more extra money do you need to make for the fun stuff. And if the job that you have pays for the fun and the necessities, then you might consider getting an extra job, something on the weekends, something in the evenings, not full time, maybe just for a summer or maybe, just for a period of time. Sometimes people get jobs around the holidays because obviously people are looking for extra support, and just make a little extra money. And when you make that extra money, put it in a savings account that you will not touch. And if you think you're going to touch it,
okay,
give it to somebody else. Because believe it or not, sometimes we have a hard time saving because even though we put it in a savings account, we still know it's there. And it's really easy to borrow $10, $100, $1,000, depending on how much is in there. But if you really feel like you need somebody to protect you from spending, then give somebody else your money. A lot of times that's somebody that you trust unconditionally. It could be a parent, could be a friend, could be a sibling.
Okay.
And say, you know what? Create a savings account for me. I'm going to give you $500 a month. I trust that when I want it, you'll get back to me, but I don't trust myself. I need to give it to you. Okay. Now that's in extreme
that's
circumstances. Okay. But you sound very driven. You sound focused, and it's just thinking it through. But I firmly believe that when making money, you want to make money with intention. Don't just punch a clock. Don't just do it to satisfy even paying a bill. What are you shooting for? What brings you joy? Like, to me, I love getting massages, 90-minute massage, even a 2-hour massage sometimes.
Yeah.
I will do anything to get that massage. Do you see? Not anything. I mean, I'm going to keep it legal,
Yeah,
but you know what I mean?
True, no.
I don't mind working a little extra to have that massage once a month. It means that much to me.
Yeah, you're very right.
So think about what it is that you want and then make money with intention. Okay?
Awesome. Well, that's, I think, the most greatest advice that I've gotten from anybody, honestly.
Well, you know what? All about living full out is having fun. So if we let things like financial pressure, relationships, betrayal, all these things kind of be like weights on our shoulders, we can't be free, right? So, you keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
You sound awesome, and just reach back out to us if you need more support.
Well, thank you so much again for having me on your show. Have a great day.
You too. Take care. Thank you. All of these are great questions. And again, keep them coming. We'll be taking your calls throughout the show. I also want to make sure that if you need resources on today's show, email us at connect@livingfullout.com, because we want to make sure that you're supported even outside of this time we have together, or reach out to me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. So when we come back, we are going to be joined by our inspirational guest, Rachel Stephensen. It's inspiring how she got past betrayal. You don't want to miss it. I'm Nancy Solari. This is the Living Full Out Show, and we'll be right back.
I realized that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic.
Maybe you could be an outdoor cat that lives in our neighbor's yard, 3 doors down.
Mom.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same. Your daughter is having trouble learning French. Do you A, hire a tutor?
Bonjour.
B, enforce a French-only rule at home? Or C, watch some foreign films? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got. Or C, show solidarity.
Thank you, babe.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers, but you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
When they test you, stand firm and move only when you hear the seatbelt click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Hey, look, it's those guys.
Get some drinks!
Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home just in case. Why would you do that?
Probably okay isn't okay. Call a cab, a car, or a friend.
Good choice.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. A professional motivational speaker, Nancy can help you overcome obstacles and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Thank you for joining us. My name is Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show, and we're so happy to have you today, even though the topic we're talking about is betrayal. But betrayal does not have to be a lifelong sentence. In fact, our inspirational guest today, she felt betrayed at certain points in her life by family members. But it was her passion, her dedication to finding out the truth and keep prying at life to give her the answers. And then sometimes in life, we need to pry, we need to ask, we need to put ourselves out there to get the truth. And at that point, you can heal, you can forgive, you can get past feeling betrayed. So I'd very much like to welcome Rachel Stephensen to the show. Rachel,
hi, Nancy.
Hi, nice to have you on the show today. I appreciate it. I didn't want to give too much of your story away because it's really one that has layers that needs to be kind of unfolded as you go. So I want to take our audience back to when you were 5, and 5 is such a young age. I mean, hard to even have a lot of memories at 5, but that was a very pivotal day for you. That was probably the biggest memory of your life. Can you share with us what happened at that age?
Sure. Well, when I was just a few days into my, 6th year, actually, I turned 5 just a few days before, I spent the weekend, as I often did, at my paternal grandmother's house because my parents, who were very young, would often, take some time for themselves on the weekend. And I woke up in the middle of the night, as I would often enough, and noticed that my grandmother was not with me, as she usually was. And in just a few minutes, she emerged from the bathroom, and she was fully dressed, looked like she was ready to leave. And I was very confused because it was in the middle of the night. And she quickly leaned over to me and told me that she had to go. She said, "I have to go. Your mommy's sick." The next morning, I waited, very impatiently for my mom and my dad and my grandmother to come home. Wasn't sure what was going on. And when the door finally opened that morning, my father and my grandmother walked in, but my mom was not with them. My dad told me within a few minutes of getting there, "Your mommy's in heaven now. She's with the angels." And, my life changed forever. My mom was gone. You opened the show using the word betrayal, which is a very strong word. Mm-hmm. I would say, in this instance, as my story is shared today, betrayal is not always intentional, right? And I would just want to make it clear that what happened to me was the result of people, my family in particular, being completely shocked and distraught and confused and overwhelmed. The way they talked about my mom's death was very vague. They talked about her being in heaven and her being sick. And, it wasn't until years later that I found out what actually happened. So I just want to clarify that because,
yes,
it's important.
Absolutely. And the thing is obviously at 5 years old, that's a lot of news to take in that your mother has passed. And, first of all, I just want to take this moment to talk about that because moms are precious. I know you're a mom, and I'm sure your 3 daughters are just, you're their world. And my mom is one of my best friends. And I want to take this moment to just kind of find out how as a 5-year-old who then turns a few years later 10, then you're 15, what was that ride like, not having your mom and not having really answers?
It's a really big question. I appreciate that you asked it. I think only now, since I am a mother of 3 daughters, do I really recognize my loss, right? I mean, at the time when she died, I very, very immediately understood the finality of her loss. I mean, you hear some people talk about young kids and an inability to really process death or understand the permanence of death. I've read a bit about that. But the truth is, in that moment, even though some of the language that my family used was a little vague and didn't quite explain what had happened, I knew in my core that she was gone and that she was never coming back. I mean, I will never forget that feeling of just an understanding that my life would never be the same and that I would never see her again. So I longed for her. I mean, I did have, my grandmother in my life after that point, who took care of me, and she very generously stepped up. My dad was so young, and I lived with her, and she made sure I, had what I needed and was supported in the ways that I needed to be supported. But, I still felt a longing for a mother. And when I heard my friends talk about their moms and even complain about their moms, I remember just desperately wishing that I could feel the positive stuff that they were talking about and the negative stuff that they were talking about. I remember even being at a slumber party once in the 8th grade, and a friend of mine was rolling her eyes and complaining about shopping with her mom and how annoying it was. And I actually said to her, well, at least you have a mother. And, that's kind of a deep conversation for 2 8th graders to have.
Absolutely.
And I think all my friends were pretty uncomfortable, But, I always longed for her. I wanted that connection. My mother had sisters who were very near her age. I watched them with their children and wished that, she was in my life. So, I mean, I can just say that it was I didn't know what I was missing, honestly, except when I looked around and, listened to other people reflect on their own relationships. Mm-hmm. But as a mother now, and, given the depths of, feeling that I have for my girls, I certainly, understand it more.
Well, and it's interesting because when we have a loss, sometimes, let's say somebody loses a pet and the pet passes away, over a certain amount of time, they may get another pet. And I know that at one point, your grandmother, she really stepped up. We'll talk about your dad in a little bit, but, she really stepped up in wanting to be that parent role for you. And she even mentioned, I can be your mommy. And that did not go well for you. That did not settle well for you.
No, that's right. I mean, that actually was the morning after, my mom died, when she and my dad came back from where they were. At the time I didn't know where they were or where they had been. And right after my dad had said, your mommy's in heaven, she's with the angels, my grandmother reached out to me, of course, in a nurturing way.
Rachel, hang tight. So we have to go to a commercial break here in just a second. So I want to come back to this because it's really important what she's about to say. So everybody stay with us. This is Rachel Stephensen, our guest. I'm Nancy Solari. This is the Living Full Out Show, and we'll be right back. Stay with us, Rachel.
Drop that baby.
You got a king?
Go fish!
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Papa! Here we go. We're gonna go out there in the rain. You're gonna get wet. All right, here we go. Okay, good. Oh yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah. So wet. Red shirt, blue shirt, yellow shirt. Oops. Yellow pants, red pants, green pants. Oops.
How's your hair? Is it pretty?
Daddy.
It's pretty.
Maybe I'll sit alone. Maybe I'll sit alone.
Don't ignore the subtext. It's on us to intervene in sexual assault. Because we can. Take the pledge at itsonus.org.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a trusted life coach, Nancy will help you overcome setbacks and embrace all life has to offer. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. My name is Nancy Solari, and today we're joined by our inspirational guest, Rachel Stephensen. In the last segment, she shared with us about how her mom had passed away when she was 5 years old. With her father and grandmother doing the best they could, they let her know that she had gotten sick and that she had passed. And I want to welcome Rachel back into the show at this point because the story really unfolds naturally, so I don't want to give it away. So I want to welcome Rachel back. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay. So I want to kind of go to the day, here you knew your mom had passed, you missed her. You knew she had passed because she was sick. That's what you were told. But then you were with another family member when randomly you were told of a different reality of how she died. What was that moment like? And
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, when I was probably around 10 or 11, one of my cousins happened to mention to me that my mom had been killed in a car accident. And at the time, I said, no, that's not true. She was sick, because of course I remembered the exact words that I had heard, the night my mom died. And he said, well, yeah, that's what happened. And, called his mother into the room and had her verify the story. It was very shocking, disorienting moment for me. And, many things happening in that moment. One, realizing that what I had sat with for so many years, which was this, idea that suddenly she had gotten sick. And of course, it's worth saying that she was a perfectly healthy, 22-year-old woman. So to suddenly get sick and die itself was, quite confusing to me. I wondered if she was in a bed, shaking with a fever. Was she sweating? Was she, covered in blankets? I mean, I'd had, very vivid visual images in my mind of what she might have looked like that night. But then to suddenly realize that the reason she had died was because of a car accident, it really shook me, just because that was the reality, and that's what ultimately explained her sudden death. But I think beyond that, I was also just really confused about why members of my family who were much more removed from her, right? I mean, this is my cousin who was not her child, but he knew the truth, and his mother knew the truth, and how many other family members knew the truth and I didn't. So there, now we get to that word that you used at the beginning of the show around betrayal. I mean, though I realize now years later that there wasn't an intentional decision to betray, to mislead, to manipulate the truth. In that moment, I felt utterly betrayed by the people I was closest to and the people I trusted the most, because I did not know the truth.
Well, and you were how old at that point?
10-ish, 11-ish.
10-ish, 11-ish. And obviously, first person, number one person that you want to turn to is Dad, right?
Well, of course, yeah.
That's right. Is this real? And how did he receive you coming to him with what now was the truth? How did he receive that?
Well, I mean, the interesting thing here is that because after my mother died, there was clearly real discomfort in our immediate family with discussion about her. Pictures of her weren't displayed. I didn't hear her mentioned very often. There were no memories easily shared between family members. I eventually learned that, silence was the way we were going to handle this. And as a child within that context, I adapted to it, right? So what you are presuming, and I would guess that most people would presume this, is that upon learning the truth, my immediate next step would be to go to my dad or go to my grandmother and say, wait a minute, I just heard this. What happened? But that's not what I did. I was very angry. I felt confused. That I remember that night when my grandmother picked me up from my cousin's house, sitting in the back seat of her car, really glaring at the reflection of her eyes in her rearview mirror as she drove, and I just stared into that mirror. She recognized that something was wrong. I mean, I looked angry. I looked upset. She asked, "What's going on, Rachel? What's going on? Talk to me." And I didn't say anything. And so in the end, I was complicit in the silence. I was a part of it. I was perpetuating it. It wasn't until years later, when I was in college, that I actually confronted her and my father about the lie. And he never talked to me about it. The way I confronted them was in writing. I wrote a very long personal essay about the silence in our family. And my grandmother read it. My father took it home, told me he read it, but really never engaged me about it. But when my grandmother and I sat down to talk about it, she cried very deep tears, very, very serious tears, and in the end said that she and my dad didn't even realize that I didn't know the truth. From their perspective, the night of that accident was so disruptive and so crazy and so horrifying that they said what they said in the moment. They didn't even remember what they said in the moment. And they lived the next day and the next week and the next month and the next year, assuming I knew what they knew.
What I think is interesting, Rachel, I know I'm fast forwarding through your story, but What I think is so interesting is years later, your dad had passed due to alcoholism, but your next revelation about the truth finally came when you got a letter, an email from someone who had been with your dad that night. What was in that letter, and how did that news change the story?
Yes, that was a very important milestone in my journey. At my father's memorial, I met a couple who I had encountered over the years here and there, but had never really talked extensively to them. And as we talked about my dad, I was pretty honest with them about some of the unresolved stuff in our relationship. And most unresolved thing was the fact that we had never really connected about my mom's death and her absence from our life. And this couple in that moment said to me, we were in the car the night your mother died. And that was just a mind-blowing revelation, because I didn't really know that anyone else had been with them. And having always wanted desperately to hear a firsthand account of what had happened. And of course I never did, because my dad just couldn't go there. I realized that, these were two people who knew things that I really wanted to know. And they wrote me an email, about, a week or two later, essentially, telling me from the beginning to the end about what happened that night. They talked about their ride in the car, the fact that the windows were open, my mom was in the front seat, no one was really wearing seatbelts because, there weren't any laws around that back in 1981. The husband of this couple remembered that as they approached a corner, he noticed that the car that should have been stopped at the stop sign at that intersection kept going. He remembered my mom saying, watch out. Clearly she saw the car too. He remembered the collision, the fact that the car flipped over 3 times and ultimately landed right side up in a ditch on the side of the road. He described, opening his eyes, of course, checking on his wife. She was okay. And then turning his attention to the front seat and seeing that my mom's body had been partially ejected from the front window. He watched my dad pull her back into the car and scream her name over and over. She was gone. It was clear to him, immediately, though she looked the same. She looked like she was asleep. When he described to me that my dad stayed in that front seat and screamed her name until the police arrived, until the medics actually forced him out of the front seat so that they could, take her and tend to her and tend to him. And it was a really heart-wrenching, first-person account of what happened, and gave me tremendous empathy for my dad. I mean, the night of the accident changed his life, as far as I'm concerned. He never recovered. You mentioned his alcoholism. I feel like he went down a road of substance abuse and alcoholism in a big way to numb the pain that he felt.
Well, and that's understandable. We have a few minutes left here. I just want to ask you one final question, and thank you for being so honest in this interview with what happened. But I want to touch on one thing, and we only have about 1 minute to answer it. But you say that grieving needs a voice, and you didn't have that voice, but you have it now. What has it meant to you to learn this truth, and how are you a different person today?
Well, I mean, I think my whole life, my impulse was to be vocal, to understand the truth, even though I was, kind of trapped a little bit in a context that had taught me the opposite, and having really pushed beyond that and really seeing what I believe silence did to my dad. I think that being honest and saying really difficult things out loud is my mantra in life now. I mean, it's the way I parent. It's the way I live. It's what I've taught my kids. You don't run away from scary, difficult, sad things. You say them out loud so that you can support one another and get through things together.
Well, and
so,
and,
I mean,
and actually,
really
Rachel, I want to stop right there and just tell everybody as we close this interview that right there she gave us a great gift. Be vocal, say the truth. So, Rachel, I want to thank you for being on the show today, and we'll be thinking of you and your family. And everybody, that was Rachel Stephensen. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks so much, Nancy. I appreciate the opportunity.
You got it. And everybody, when we come back, we'll be taking your calls. Again, that was Rachel Stephensen. This is the Living Full Out Show, and we'll be right back after this break.
Connor is struggling in school.
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
Why don't you understand me?
I do. This is what it feels like for kids with learning and attention issues. Redirecting to understood.org.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund reading.
Why do you not get me?
I do. This is what it feels like for kids with learning and attention issues. Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
One in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation.
America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. 1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation.
America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. 1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation.
America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. 1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation.
America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in the shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
Start a story. Adopt at theshelterpetproject.org.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
When in life you feel as though you have been betrayed, always remember that you have the ability to set yourself free from that burden, from that pain. When you seek the truth, when you can forgive, and everything in between, that's when you are able to live full out.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a certified life coach, Nancy can help you to overcome challenges and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
All right, welcome back to the show. And today we are talking about betrayal. Now, that is a topic that is sometimes, there's a lot of gray in there, right? What does betrayal mean? It's a heavy topic. But when we are feeling as though somebody has been dishonest or misled us or has lied to us or any combination of those emotions and feelings, it can change the way that we view life. It can change the way that we trust people or even ourselves. And when you look back at your life, if there's moments where you feel as though you have been betrayed, misled, or even stabbed in the back, someone would say, I want you to take that and put it in the past, because that does not have to define your future. Always remember who you are at the core. You cannot impact or influence other people's choices or the way that they're going to react or act in their life. The only person that you can have control over or influence over is yourself. And it's all about just going out there every day and being the best person you can be. And that comes with being trusting. Again, if something has happened in your life, and even in my life, I've had moments of betrayal. My dad had an affair and left our family. With going legally blind, I feel like my retina has betrayed my eyes, my ability to see. And the thing is I could stay in the place of pain and fear, or I could say to myself, you know what? The past is the past, and I'm going to heal from those moments and move forward into the future. So think about where you are today. Think about the thing that just irks you the most, haunts you, the thing that you keep talking and complaining about over and over again to family members. Let it go. Give yourself the biggest gift you possibly can and let it go. Now, if you say to yourself, Nancy, I can't let it go, I have way too many questions, I need answers, then just like Rachel, our inspirational guest today, keep asking. Ask not just the immediate people in your family, but inquire to friends, distant relatives. Try to find out the truth. The great thing about life is it's meant to unfold. It's all about the discovery of who we are and why things happen. Again, for me, I've asked myself a couple different times, why am I legally blind? Why have I lost my vision? The thing is, I realize each year, even more and more, that the reason why that has happened is for me to see people not with my eyes, not with how I see them, but how I feel them to be. Their personality, their voice, the touch of their hand, the hug they give me. That's how I interpret. That's how I connect with people. So where you are in your life, whatever it is that has been just eating at you over the years, you want to let it go or you want to find answers. But then somewhere in between there, just be good to yourself and remember that you have to be patient. Sometimes the answers take time to come. For Rachel, our inspirational guest, it took from 5 years old into her later years for her to get the answers about her mom's death. For some people, when they have a dream or a goal and it's just not working and they're tempted to give up on it, sometimes, again, you have to inquire, get support, The answers are there. They're just not always going to be available right when you want them. So you got to stay open. You got to stay inquisitive. As we wrap up today's show, I want to reach out to you and let you know that we're very focused on making sure that you are motivated every day, that a dream is not this fleeting thought, that it's something attainable. We want to give you the resources, the tools, the action steps to make any desire in your life come true. And so I want you to reach out to us at connect@livingfullout.com if you need additional coaching or resources beyond today's show, especially since betrayal is such a heavy topic and there's so many different ways it can go. There's only so much we can do within the time of the show. Just know that I'm extending my hand to you, that you are able to reach out to us at connect@livingfullout.com or call the Living Full Out office at 310-909-7800 and we'll be able to help you as well. I want to thank our entire Living Full Out team that works hard each week to put this show together, and I mean that. They are a devoted crew. We got Rich and Roger and Riley and Kenny and Sam and Chris and Julia and on and on and on. And I share those names with you because as we all hear your stories, when you call in and ask for advice, when our inspirational guests come on and share with us what they've overcome, we're all cheering you on and wanting you to be living your life full out. We also encourage you to go to our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. We try to be as accessible as we can so that you can get the information, get the motivation in whatever form you prefer. For some people, they want a quick tweet, but give me a quick dose, Nancy, and we do that. For others, they want to watch videos to get inspired. They are more stimulated by watching and learning. You got the YouTube channel for that. And on all the other platforms, we will just continue to give you postings and resources to keep you inspired. So most of all, we couldn't do this show without you. So thank you very much for listening today. I hope that all of you have a very insightful hour. I know I have. Our inspirational guest was excellent, and your calls were just, I'm in awe of you every time you call in about just the growth that you want to have in your life. So thank you for that. We will look forward to seeing you next week. Here's to you living your life full out. Thank you for watching the Living Full Out YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the like button. And if you're interested in the content we provide, feel free to hit the subscribe button. Now, for more inspirational content, click the video on the right to get to know me, Nancy Solari, host of the Living Full Out Show and certified life coach, in more detail. Click the video on the left and you'll be motivated by the Living Full Out radio show and our inspirational guests and callers. Keep in mind, we welcome your comments. If you're empowered, let us know. Feel free to leave a comment. We would enjoy hearing from you. And here's to you, living your life full out.